made me start thinking that can I put together a talk telling people who actually he was, and that is exactly what I'm going to do now. I would ask my chair to make sure you stop me, because I don't stop, so stop me in time. The moment you say, I'll stop. Okay, so I am going to use Amar Chitrakatha. You're going to laugh at it. Amar Chitrakatha, we don't take it seriously. But Amar Chitrakatha is a medium, comic medium, which is very good in communicating. And what I'm doing here, you see, I'm a scientist, but I'm not here to talk about what science I do. I'm here to communicate to you about someone else, some other things that happened. So how can I communicate? I'm speaking, I can jump, I can do an acting, and there can be a video, and comic strips are very important forms of communication. I spent 6 years in Japan. 3 years I was a professor there, 3 years I was a postdoc there. And in Japan, how many of you know about manga? They love manga. And you know what? They use manga, the Japanese comic, to write very difficult physics books. So it's a communication method, okay? So I'm going to use Amar Chitrakatha, and like a good scientist, I'm going to acknowledge the script by G. Kamath and Louis Fernandez, and illustrations by Shorish Rai. To understand any person, especially what they did when they grew up, we have to go back and learn about their parents. It's extremely important. Your childhood. So what we're going to do is spend some time on Jagadish's childhood, Jagadish's parents, and I'll try to show you that his childhood and his parents also influenced him to become who finally he became. He became many things. He was not just a scientist. He did many wrong things. He did many right things. It doesn't matter. But he became himself. And he became himself. And so we go back. Jagadish Bose was born in current Bangladesh. If you are not familiar with that side of India, this is a very nice, this is the Bay of Bengal. There is a big, large forest. It's a UNESCO heritage forest called Sundarban. You should visit there. Here is Kolkata. That border here on this side is India. On that side is Bangladesh. And again, there is Tripura right here. So this is Bangladesh. This entire area, Bangladesh and West Bengal, together is Bengal. Why is West Bengal called West Bengal? Can you someone say? Why?
Because it's the west part of the whole Bengal.
Where is East Bengal?
Bangladesh.
Why is it called Bangladesh, not East Bengal? So when did West Bengal become West Bengal? So Bengal was divided. 19? No! 1905. Why was Bengal divided? Because Bengal was too much for the British. So that's when you had West Bengal, East Bengal. And then East Bengal became Pakistan, then East Bengal became Bangladesh. So Bengal wasn't a united Bengal. In fact, when Bengal was divided, there was a lot of resistance, where Jagadish Bose also participated, Rabindranath Tagore seriously participated. But anyway, those are other history. I don't want to digress. But he was born in a small village called Rarikhal, right there, beside this mammoth river called Podda. You should, Bangladesh is a very incredible place. His father, called Bhagwan Chandra Bose, studied at Dhaka University, and he started as a career as a school teacher, this is Dhaka, and then joined government service, okay? 1858, Bhagwan, when the year Jagadish was born, he became a deputy magistrate and moved to a place called Faridpur in today's Bengal. Then he moved 1869 to a place called Bardhaman. I think there is someone here from Bardhaman. Hands up. Hattolo. Hi. So his father was at Bardhaman. Remember 1869, so Jagadish is about 10 years old. So what did he do for 10 years? He did not move with his father. He stayed at the village, and anyway, and what I want to show is that, and we're going to come to that, but this is Bhagwan Chandra Das. and Bose. And what is important is he was an administrator, deputy magistrate, educationist. He started a school in Bengali. Bengali saying that he wanted vernacular language school. He was a social reformer. He was a patriot. He bought some tea garden in Assam because he wanted to make money so that he can fight the British. Of course, it didn't work. Bengalis cannot do business, okay? So, and he was a Swadeshi entrepreneur. He was a Brahmo. And I think what is very important is he spent time with his son. So many of you here don't have children. Maybe you will have children. If you do, most important thing is spend time with your kid, play with your kid. That's the most important gift you can give to your kid. Right, ma'am? Yes, Gautam. Yes, Gautam. Okay. And his mother, of course, mothers are extremely important. His mother is called Bama Sundari Devi. She was, remember, he was a Brahmo. That means he did not believe, this was a new reform in Hinduism where people did not believe in idol worship. But she was not a Brahmo. She was a idol worshipper. So it's very interesting. Father, not an idol worshipper, Brahmo. Mother, a idol worshipper. And so he got both, okay? As a child, Jagadish was a very curious boy. And he spent his childhood, first 10 years, you know, picking on a grass here, playing with some frogs there. And in the process, what he did is he mixed with people, he mixed with children of a class that was the working class. A fisherman's son was his friend. A carpenter's son was his friend. So in India also, I am from a middle-class Bengali family. I'm sure many of you are from middle-class families. People who are from middle-class families, we normally don't do things with our, when I was a kid, I used to go out and play in the dirt. Now I don't see kids playing. It's extremely important for children to play and enjoy and experience nature the way it is. You fall sick, you fall sick. You have to go and get wet in the rain. You cannot always use an umbrella, and that is exactly what he did. And in the process, in a very natural and an organic way, he became a naturalist. And we will see, finally, he was ultimately a naturalist. He was not a physicist. He was an accidental physicist. He was not a biologist. So Jatra is a Bengali way of doing village play. That is where he was into it. He had his own pony. He played with carpenters and blacksmith. He played with fish trap, insects, animals. There was a dacoit who was ex-dacoit who was employed by his father, who used to carry him to school. And he read Mahabharata and Ramayana. And in Mahabharata, there was a character, Karna. I think Karno in Bangla, I think Hindi you say Karn. Karn/Karno. So that was a very favorite character of his. Why? His mother used to read to him. Of course, he was too young to read. Mother used to read or tell stories. The character of Karn was very important for him because even though Karn was denied his rights, he fought to the last. And he always said that my father was like that. He was righteous, he did everything, but finally he did not get it. And he himself also said that about himself, that I was denied my rights, but I will still fight to the last. Jagadish's father was a nationalist and an egalitarian. People who don't know the word egalitarian means he didn't care about caste or class. He was with everyone. What he did was, he was a deputy magistrate. Normally, deputy magistrates' children would go to an English medium school. He set up a school in vernacular language, Bengali, and while other people said, you should send your kid to an English medium school, he said, no way. I'm not going to send my kid to an English medium school. I'm going to send my kid to a Bengali medium school, a vernacular language school, and that's where Jagadish went for first 10 years, okay? So he decided that Jagadish be sent to Bengali school set up by him rather than an English medium school. And then, if you can read this, I don't want to read this, I just want to show you the pictures because I want to use it as a medium the Amar Chitra Katha, okay? So people laughed at him. Oh, come on, he's so smart. Then he said, no, I mean, that's not the point, okay? This is a writing by Jagadish himself during that time, what he recalled. This is what he writes. At that time, sending children to English schools was an aristocratic status symbol. In the vernacular school to which I was sent, the son of the Muslim attendant of my father sat on my right side, and the son of a fisherman sat on my left. They were my playmates. I listened spellbound to their stories of birds, animals, aquatic creatures. Perhaps these stories created in my mind a keen interest in investigating the workings of nature. I never realized there exists a problem common to the two communities, Hindus and Muslims. What he talked about Hindu-Muslim is that even in Bengal, there's a large Hindu and large Muslim community, and often there would be clashes. What he wanted to say is that as a child, I don't care. They're all humans. It is only when people grow up, they're mentally. So I think this is extremely important. Jagadish was sent to, then he was sent to Kolkata in a school called Hare School. Anybody here from Kolkata or Bengal? No. So in Hare School, it was an English medium school, but the problem was he had a Bengali accent. He came from a village and he could not speak English very well. So people started bullying him. And he then bullied very badly. Then he moved to St. Xavier's School. Kolkata has this college called St. Xavier's College, which is very old college. And we talked about Indian Association for Cultivation of Science, set up by Mahendralal Sarkar. There was a physics teacher, a Belgian priest, who was a physics teacher, he gave his life for India. His name is Father Lafont. Father Lafont was in St. Xavier's College. So Jagadish went to St. Xavier's College, and it is Father Lafont who loved him and somehow convinced him into physics. So he went to St. Xavier's College, but during his vacation, he used to go to Bardhaman, where his father was. And you know what he did there? He worked with goldsmiths, he worked with carpenters. And remember, later on, he would build instruments with his own hands. You have to ask, why? How come he suddenly starts building instruments? Where does he get the idea from? Because from a childhood, he was allowed to go, जैसे अपने घर में कोई आए ना, दरवाजा खराब हो गया, वो दरवाजा बना रहे हैं, हम लोग देखते हैं, हाँ अच्छा बनाओ, ठीक से बनाओ, हाँ वहाँ मारो, ठीक से. हम लोग अपने आप कभी नहीं करते हैं. जब तक हम अपने आप नहीं करेंगे, तब तक होगा नहीं. हमारा पास जब I used to have PhD students, they used to come, sir, so who is going to clean your stuff? Because at home she doesn't clean. There is a cleaner who comes and cleans. So I make sure that they clean. We get a new machine, say fluorimeter, perfectly new machine. आ गया, they are waiting, sir, इसको installation करना पड़ेगा. I don't know, you open it. Sir, should I touch it? I said, touch it, open it. So they open it. अंदर में क्या देखो? इसको सिर्फ black box मत सोचो. Until we do it with you break it, it's okay, it does not matter. No fear, you cannot fear unless you break it. जैसे I went to IIT Kanpur. I'm sorry, I'm not against IIT people, but so many engineers study automobile engineering. When their car breaks down, what happens? They take it to a garage. A 8-year-old kid who does not go to school goes under the car. थोड़ा साबुन दीजिए. हाँ हो गया. Yes or no? That 8-year-old kid probably knows more about how to fix cars when cars fall apart than that engineer. And I went to IIT Kanpur, so that is not there in our. We don't use our hands. And what I want to emphasize here is Jagadish actually did it, and that probably helped him do what he did later on. Okay. St. Xavier's College, I told you, Father Lafont was there. He was a Belgian Jesuit priest, and he did incredible things, and he actually helped Mahendralal Sarkar establish Indian Association of Indian Association of Cultivation of Science. Okay, remember that institute was called Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. How do you cultivate science? You cultivate paddy, you cultivate some vegetables. Because at that time, it was important for Indians to understand how to, you know, even if you try to fight the British, you have to use their science, and you have to first become scientific temperament. So you have to cultivate. You cannot start doing science. You have to make people think. There were a series of lectures. Jagadish Chandra Bose also gave lectures here. We move to a very important thing that happened to him during that time. When he was in St. Xavier's College, he went to Assam for a hunting trip with a friend. And he came back from Assam and he had a fever. He came back from Assam and he had a fever. And this fever most probably was Kala-Azar. Kala-Azar is a fever carried by a vector, and its medicine first was actually discovered in India, in Kolkata by Dr. Brahmachari. So it's a different story, but that medicine was not available then. But this will going to affect him. The fever will come back. Fever will come back. Anyway, he finished, and then he wanted to go to England to join the Indian Civil Service. He did not go there to do Indian Civil Service. He wanted to. He told his father. His father said, "No way, man, you're not going to do that. You're going to go and learn medicine so that you can come and help." So he went to England. By the way, when he wanted to go to England, his mother said, "No, you cannot cross the Black Water." There was some problem with during that time culturally, because Jagadish had one brother, and that brother died very young when that brother was 12 years old. So the mother did not want to lose the only son. He had 3 sisters. But finally, the mother agreed. In fact, they had no money, so the mother said, "I'm going to give all my ornaments," but then ultimately she did not have to do it. What I mean is that ultimately, you know, everybody supported him in whichever way. He went there and he studied medicine, but his health did not permit. He was getting the fever again, back and back. And in the medical school, you have to go and do a lot of surgery, stand there. He could not do it. So he quit medicine. He quit medicine, and then to do what? There was a man called Ananda Mohan Bose. I don't want to get involved here, but he got support there, and he moved to a college called Christ's College. India, the British were not giving him the right support. It's Lord Raleigh who wrote to them. So it is not that all Britishers were bad. The colonials were bad. But even within colonials, there were individuals who worked against them, especially the Irish and the Scottish, especially the Irish ones. Anyway, it's a different history. What I'm saying is, even among people who came here, not everybody wanted to exploit us. Some of them helped us. We learned from them. But majority, the empire wanted to exploit us, absolutely. There was somebody called Sidney Vines. This Christ College is a college where Charles Darwin went there. And there is a plaque with Darwin's face in the college when Darwin's 200 years happened. And you know what? When I was in Bose Institute, we got a letter from Christ College. That was in 2009. That was the 150th anniversary of birth anniversary of J.C. Bose. They said, "We want to put a little bust there." So when we say he did not get Nobel Prize, I would say, yes, he did not get Nobel Prize. So what? This is a great honor that the college says, we didn't tell them. They approached us that we want to put a bust of J.C. Bose. And that, if you ever go to England and Christ College, you will see that there is a bust of J.C. Bose. This was made in Kolkata, shipped there, And I think these are things that we should be proud of, really. Uh, he returned to India and took up a job in a college called Presidency College in Kolkata. He was very excited. And you know, when you first get your job, you work for a month, then you're thinking, okay, how much salary am I going to get? So he goes there. He's not yet married. You know, he can use his money any way he wants to. He goes to get his salary. And lo and behold, he said that, he was told that you will be given only 2/3 of your salary because you're not a white man. He said, yeah, I'm not a white man, but I was in England and everybody treated me equally. And I come to my country and, well, no, that is it. So that was the first hit he got. So what did he do? If he was a typical Bengali, he would say, Hoche na, hobe na, we stop work. He said, no, I'll not stop work. I'll work full time, but I'll not take any salary until it is equal. That is called Satyagraha. This is, when we think of the word Satyagraha, we think of Gandhiji. When did Gandhiji come to India? Can any of the children say? Gandhiji was born in India. He left India. He went to this place called South Africa where he did whatever, he did incredible stuff. Then he came back to India. When did he come back to India? 1915. And this is 1885. So in some ways, because he was not a social reformer. What he did it in his little circle. Whereas Gandhiji was a social reformer, it was a different thing, okay? So this is really, I would say, the first Satyagraha, where you protest, but in a very unique way that, you know, they cannot do anything. And so this is Bose Satyagraha. I will work full time, but not accept salary until you treat us equal. And equality came 3 years later. Now, after he joined the Presidency College and not taking salary, a young man during that time were under pressure. So you know what the pressure of a young man under that time after you get a job? Get married, get married, get married, get married. Same thing happened with Satyendra Bose. Do you know how many children, I don't want to say. Satyendranath Bose, how many children did he have? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Find out yourself. And the pressure you have, if you get married when you are 18, so don't get married that young, okay? Get married, do you agree? Get married when you're mature, okay? Because before you know, you're going to have babies and it will be a mess. Jagadish Chandra Bose got married. And she got married, and this is something very important to all women in my audience, to somebody called Abola Bose. Abola Bose, she is a remarkable woman. We should not look at her as Jagadish Bose's wife. Abola Bose wanted to study medicine. And in that time in Kolkata University, Calcutta Medical College does not allow women to study. She came to Madras. At that time, Chennai was called Madras. She studied medicine here, but for some reason, not very clear, she did not complete. She studied for 3 years or 3.5 years, and then he came and married Jagadish Bose. He was one of the early feminists in India, a social worker, and all her life, she made sure women, children, girl children go to school. She made schools for children all her life. And we will see later, Jagadish and Abola don't have children, but they gave all their, 5 minutes, I'll stop right here. So they gave all their money and property to Bose Institute. Okay, so they got married and together they started their life. I want to miss this. I just want to say that what did he do in Presidency College? He built extraordinary instruments producing millimeter waves for the first time, okay? One of the things that is, I will quickly say, maybe this one I will skip because I don't have much time. And there's, huh? Okay, this is very important. I just want to say the first phase of his research, 1894 to 1899, what he did was James Clerk Maxwell had talked about electromagnetic radiation. Henrik Hertz and Maxwell first showed that light, visible or invisible, is electromagnetic radiation theoretically. Experimentally, this was proved, but not proved for invisible light. Henrik Hertz in Germany, he tried to generate waves, invisible waves, long wavelength, centimeter, but he died young when he was 40. So people wanted to find out, can I make smaller wavelength light? And that is what Jagadish Bose did. I just want to show one thing, that this is his instrument, his actual instrument. Right here, this box is where he produced the electromagnetic radiation. This electromagnetic radiation went through this tube. This tube is called the waveguide. The radiator is inside here. Right on this table, he used to put prism, this, that, for doing the experiment. This is his detector. One of the detector is a spiral coherer. He made different kinds of detectors. And this is a double prism, for example. It was used right here for reducing the intensity of light that was going through. Today, if you go to America, in California, in Kidd Park, there is a radio telescope, and you can see they are using exactly what he had done then for attenuating the short wavelength light for the telescope. I don't want to go into the detail, but I'll tell you two without explaining. There's a technique called surface plasmon resonance, which uses a principle inherently discovered by Jagadish right there called evanescent wave. There is something called total internal reflection fluorescence microscopy, where you put a cell on top of a glass slide, and there goes light, and right here is the evanescent wave, and from there you can actually look at single molecules. Of course, Jagadish Chandra did not discover this. But what I want to say is he discovered the original effect, which is now being exploited right here. I'll quickly go, this was the first transmission of information without wire, first in Presidency College, then in Calcutta Town Hall. Then he did it in a place called the Royal Institute, 1897, and that changed everything. What that did is, for the first time, the world, meaning the West who did science, they could not ignore the fact that a native Indian sitting in India can do science. Because Jagadish showed it, that's why me or our chair, we can do science here. He showed that Indians can do it in India. That's why so it does not really matter what he did. That is secondary. He first showed that I can do it. I can do it just as much. I will do it in such a way, I will not. So what he did was he produced, detected, and studied millimeter waves. In the process, he developed incredible devices. And he chanced upon phenomenon, for example, semiconductor. He actually made a Galliner detector, which was the first example of semiconductor. Of course, he did not understand he was doing semiconductor. Because any discovery and its full understanding takes a long time. When C.V. Raman, sitting in a room, not just Raman, there was another person with Raman who did the experiments. Who was it? Find out. We always talk about Raman, but he had a student. Together they worked in Kolkata. Huh? Thank you. Krishnan and Raman. So remember, when you say Raman, don't forget Krishnan. When they did their experiment to find out Raman effect in Kolkata, in Beaubazar Ganguly Street, they did not quite understand why it was happening. They understood it completely only after people understood what is Compton effect. So what I'm saying is, science comes in bits and pieces. S.N. Satyendranath Bose never thought of God particle. In fact, he's a statistician. You know how, anyway, so what I want to do is, He returned to India, continued work. Two people who he influenced him very much is Rabindranath Tagore and Sister Nivedita. Sister Nivedita is another woman who did incredible work for India's independence. In fact, she designed the first Indian national flag with Bajra or Chatur Bajra, which became Bose Institute's symbol right here. This was in our national flag at the very beginning. So she died in Darjeeling in 1911. She came here because Vivekananda called, she was influenced by Vivekananda. A second phase I'm going to ignore, but I just want to say that Jagadish Chandra Bose wrote a letter on today, November 30th, 1911, the year she died, to a friend. Today is my birthday. This day, 17 years ago, I resolved to put all my strength for science. 5 years, I worked all by myself. So at the end of Presidency College, 5 years, he was losing it. Nobody was helping him. There was no inspiration. He was alone. And there came, and when my strength was nearly gone, then she came to help me. So that is how we should remember her. And the interesting thing is that if you come to Bose Institute in Kolkata, there is no trace of Sister Nivedita. The idea is she's there, but she's not there. That philosophy, you don't always have to have an idol to worship. She's there everywhere. And then I'll skip. I just want to say one thing. Also, just that I just want to say Vivekananda also was there in 2000. In 2000, year 2000, there was a big conference in Paris. For women sitting in my audience, I want to remind you, 1900. 1900, I want to remind you for women sitting in my audience, that year Paris also hosted the Olympics. And that was the first time women were allowed to participate. Give a clap. So I think it is extremely important. We talked about Stri Shakti, but you have to know when, like Abola Bose here or the 1900 thing. So that conference, Vivekananda also died very young. He was only 39 years old when he died. But he supported Jagadish, not directly, because Jagadish was not an idol worshipper and Vivekananda was an idol worshipper. However, they had a mediator, Sister Nivedita. Sister, go and talk to him. Sister, no, go and talk to him. So they used to kind of interact. And these are interesting human relationships, okay? I just want to move to something else. So in the second phase, he did a lot of work. He made instruments. I don't want to talk about them. I mean, I can talk about them for the whole day. There's not just the crescograph. He did many things, and he did some incredible stuff with photosynthesis, electric probe, electrophysiology. He found out details about where the electric signal goes through plants. And really, at that time, people believed that plants do not have electric signal. They have chemical signal. So that is what he showed. It's electric signal and not chemical signal, okay? Then I just want to say there are people, these two guys opposed him a lot. It's another story. It's a very incredible story. I don't want to talk about it. But I just wanted to say one little thing, that after he retired, he started to work towards a new institute for India, for Indian, by Indian, and of Indian. So he donated. Remember, he was 60-year-old. He retired. He should have had fun with his family somewhere, but he could not stop. He needed money. He gave all his money. His wife and they gave all his money. Cash came from all quarters. There's this American woman, Sarah Bull. She gave enormous amount of money. Sarah Bull also gave money to Vivekananda for setting up his center. Bose's lectures raised money arranged by people like Gokhale and Gandhiji and others. There are many Indian princely states that gave money. Maharajas of Baroda gave money. Kashim Bazar in Bangladesh gave money. Patiala's Raja gave money. There were individuals who had money in Bombay who gave money. And finally, today, in 1917, this institute was started, and I think that is extremely important. And I want to finish because of lack of time. A nationalist, the first writer of science fiction in India, and most importantly, a person who could sustain a child's curiosity throughout his life and be creative and innovative. And that is why this side of moon, which is on the dark side of moon, which you will never see even with a telescope, you can only see it on a slide like this. This crater is called Bose crater, and right here there is another crater called Bhabha. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gautam ji, for your motivational performance. So now house is open for the any question, comment, suggestion. So student, please ask the question if you have any. No question?
You can also send me an email, gautamda@gmail.com.
Okay, so from the student side, so I want to just say what the lesson they can learn from the life and achievement of Acharya Jagdish Chandra Basu ji.
I think
Please elaborate.
one thing to learn is learn from nature. Don't stop yourself from interacting with nature, okay? So, because at the end, if you are doing science or if you are not doing science, today what we have done, meaning my age people, we have destroyed the planet and we are going to die. But now we realize ultimately we have to come back, we have to be in equilibrium. So one of the things that Jagadish we have to learn is, even though he did such technically complicated work, he ultimately never forgot nature. And I think that is something very important. After that, where life will take you, only God knows. But don't forget your nature, because the nature where we grow up is your mother at the end. That's it. You have a question?
That was a beautiful session, sir. Thank you so much.
Anyway, yeah.
I am also an educator, and seeing people before us and the generations of students before us, I see a problem here. Now, students are made to become professionals, which is another way of saying that they are supposed to pick up one discipline and dedicate a large part of their life towards that discipline alone. So, sir, in such a situation, there was a beautiful word earlier, polymaths.
But Jagadish was a polymath.
Yeah. So now we rarely see such people, or we rarely see such ideology. So how can we do something to bring back that culture, maybe dilute the concept of professionals a little bit?
Okay, I'll try to answer this super difficult question. What you are saying is the current trend in the society. And current trend in the society comes from materialism. Okay. Do you carry a mobile phone on you?
Yeah.
Do you use Amazon.com? So you are part of it. So you cannot change yourself. So until this materialism goes, you cannot do it. People are going to be professional. People are going to make money. They want to have more material. However, even when you are a professional, I think you can figure out who you are little bit. I'll sing 2 lines. Can I sing a song? 2 lines? This is it's a Bengali song, but I will translate. This is by a fakir from Bangladesh called Lalan Fakir. It says, ঘরের পাশে আর সিহিনগর পড়শি বসত কহরে আমি একদিনও নাই দেখিলাম তারে. That means ঘরের পাশে আরশি নগর. ঘর के पास में आरशी means mirror. So there's a mirror town just by my side. My neighbor lives there, but I have never seen him once. So what I'm saying is, even when you become professional, even if you become materialistic, because the society is such that you cannot change, you should take little time to see yourself in the mirror and see who I am. And if you find who you are, you on an individual basis can come out of this super materialism. That is my advice. But right now what is happening in society is because of our lalach, our greed to have more money, more house. Everybody wants a huge car. Tell me, what is a car? You need four wheels, four wheels and one. But we need big cars. You, me, everyone, we are part of it. So the only way to come out is to ask ourselves who we are. And if you can teach this to a student, hold a student and say, अंदर में क्या है निकालो, आ गया ना, बस वही हो जाएगा.
Thank you, Gautam ji, for your lecture. So you have seen the beauty of this presentation. What was that? He has shown some cutting of the comics, which remind me also about my childhood. So it encourages us to learn more and more through the pictures, you can say. And yes, in this lecture, he has proved that what the life JC Basuji has lived and what the achievement he has made in his career. Okay, so in the British India, a native Indian can also do the research. Being in India, so now you can suppose what you can do in the independent India. Okay, so thank you
So I did,
for
my
your lecture.
I did my PhD in America. I came back thinking I want to do research here. I worked here 30 years, but I could not really discover anything significant. But you should try. Bye.
Let's have a clap for him. And
now we would like to present him a memento as a token of appreciation. I would like to request Professor Manish to please come on the stage. Sir, kindly come to the center.
This is a big gift to Jagadish Chandra Bose. I'll take it back to India, back Kolkata, and show it to him.
Thank you, sir.
let's
Thank you,
proceed in this
Manish ji.
session. Now we are having 4 oral presentation, and I am going to call one by one each and every presentation. So our online presenter is ready or not? So first presenter is Dr. Sarvesh Kumar. So Sarvesh, can you hear us? Okay, the rule for these presentations will be 8 minutes will be in total. So we will give you a warning bell at the 7th minute, and then you have to wind up in the 8th minute. And 2 minutes will be for the discussion and the question and comments from the audience. Sarvesh? You can start. We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's fine. You can start, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Very nice. So, धन्यवाद मनीष जी. अलग-अलग टॉक्स के माध्यम से हम जगदीश चंद्र बोस जी के जीवन के पहलुओं के बारे में जानने की कोशिश करेंगे. तो इसी कड़ी में मेरे टाइटल जो टॉक का है वो वैज्ञानिकता और आध्यात्मिकता, एक सत्याग्रही भारतीय. मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि इन चारों शब्दों को जेसी बोस जी के लिए आपको इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकूं. तो जैसे कि आप फिगर में देख पा रहे हैं, आप फिर से CERN से जुड़ चुके हैं और मैं इस वक्त CERN से ही बातचीत कर रहा हूं आपके साथ. तो CERN जैसी बड़ी प्रयोगशाला में भी भगवान नटराजन जी का मूर्ति रखा हुआ है, प्रस्थापित किया गया है. और ये भी एक वैज्ञानिकता और आध्यात्मिकता का अनूठा समन्वय है. और ये समन्वय हमें किसी महान वैज्ञानिक की जीवन में देखने को मिलता है, तो वह है आचार्य जगदीश चंद्र बसु जी. तो विज्ञान और अध्यात्म दोनों का संबंध बहुत गहरा है. लेकिन देखा जाता है कि आज के परिदृश्य में दोनों अलग अलग हो गए हैं। क्यों दोनों का एक साथ होना जरूरी है, इसको गहराई से समझने की बहुत जरूरी है। क्योंकि मनुष्य की खोज हमेशा सत्य की रही है। एक है पूर्व के देश और एक है पाश्चात्य देश। दोनों तरफ ये सत्य की खोज शुरू हुई। पाश्चात्य देशों ने जब ये खोज शुरू की तो वो बाहरी रूप से शुरू की, और पूर्व के देशों ने ये खोज आंतरिक रूप से शुरू की। लक्ष्य दोनों का एक ही था कि परम सत्य तक पहुंचना है, परम सुख एवं आनंद को अनुभव करना है। पाश्चात्य के देशों ने बाहरी खोज करते हुए विज्ञान को पाया, और पूर्व के देश आंतरिक गए और कुछ ऐसे तत्व को पाया जो कि व्यक्त नहीं अव्यक्त है। उसको फिर आत्मा कहा गया और परमात्मा से जोड़ा गया। उनका उन्होंने कहा कि अनुभव ही सब कुछ है। और पश्चिम के देश जो बाहर की ओर गए थे, उन्होंने कहा कि भाई अनुभव नहीं, हमें तो प्रमाण चाहिए, उसके बाद जो अनुभव करना होगा हम कर लेंगे। तो पाश्चात्य जगत में विज्ञान के बहुत चमत्कार हुए, परंतु दोनों ही खोजों में कुछ ना कुछ पीछे छूट गया। क्या छूट गया? विज्ञान वालों के लिए आंतरिक सुख, शांति, प्रेम, भाईचारा रह गया, और साधनों को पाने की अंधाधुंध होड़ मची रही। अध्यात्म की ओर जाने वालों ने, अनुभव करने वालों ने ये नहीं जरूरी समझा कि इस अनुभव को विज्ञान की कसौटी पे
Sarvesh, are you moving your slides?
यस यस यस, नेक्स्ट आई विल गो। सो विज्ञान वालों के कारण सृष्टि के विनाश तक का खतरा उत्पन्न हो गया। ऐसा भी सृष्टि में एक समय था जब दोनों विज्ञान और अध्यात्म का एक पूर्ण समन्वय था। वो सृष्टि का एक स्वर्णिम काल था, परंतु वो काल जैसे ही समाप्त हुआ तो एक संघर्ष का समय शुरू हुआ। और अगर आज के युग में ये दोनों फिर से वापस आ जाए, वैज्ञानिकता और आध्यात्मिकता, तो ऐसी सृष्टि का निर्माण हो सकता है कि जहां रीजन, लॉजिक, फीलिंग्स, इमोशंस सब एक साथ आ सकते हैं। तो हम शुरू करते हैं जगदीश चंद्र बोस जी के जीवन से, कि वो कैसे ये सब चीजें उनके जीवन में परिभाषित होती हैं। तो उनके बचपन से ही देखें तो उन्हें क्या किस तरह के शौक थे। तो वो प्रकृति के बहुत बड़े प्रेमी थे। प्रकृति, जीव जंतुओं के, तरह तरह के जीव जंतुओं को पालना, जंगलों की खाक छानना, बगीचे में फवाड़ा चलाना, क्यारियां बनाना, घोड़े की पीठ पर बैठकर घूमना, पुल पर खड़े होकर लहरों को देखना, और प्रकृति की नकल करते हुए प्रकृति के रहस्यों को जानना। तो वो जैसे कि नेचर के सीक्रेट्स बहुत आसानी से बाहर नहीं आते, तो उनमें डूबने की बहुत जरूरत थी, ये उन्हें बचपन से ही समझ थी। तो जब हम आचार्य जैसे कि, और करीब 3 वर्ष तक वेतन न लेते हुए अपने अध्यापक पद पर रहते हुए एक अच्छा कार्य किया, और उन्होंने शोध कार्य भी किया। इवन शोध कार्य के लिए तो अपने पैसे भी खर्च किए। तो आखिरकार अंग्रेजों को उनकी समानता की मांगों को स्वीकार करना पड़ा। तो पढ़ाई पूर्ण करके वो वापस लौटे, भारत में वापस लौटे। उन्हें भारत से बहुत प्रेम था, और वो भारतवासियों के लिए बहुत कुछ करना भी चाहते थे। इसके अलावा वहाँ जब उस समय की जो सरकार थी, अ, अंग्रेजी सरकार थी, तो वो कलकत्ता विश्वविद्यालय के सीनेट के भी सदस्य थे। और अंग्रेजी सरकार चाहती थी कि हर मामले में वो सरकार की तरफदारी करें। लेकिन जगदीश चंद्र बोस जी तो, जैसा आदमी भला ऐसी बात कैसे राजी हो सकता है। इस कारण से काफी सारे सरकारी अधिकारी उनसे नाराज रहते थे, परंतु जगदीश चंद्र बोस जी तो सच्चे सत्याग्रही थे। झूठी प्रशंसा करना और बड़े अधिकारियों की चापलूसी करना, ये सब उनको कतई स्वीकार नहीं था। और वो स्वार्थी और देश विरोधी लोगों से बहुत दूर ही रहते थे।
Last 1 minute.
जी जी जी। तो मैं जरा बोस और टैगोर जी को भी जोड़ते हुए एक उनके जीवन में आध्यात्मिकता का और कैसे प्रवेश हुआ। तो सन 1896 में जगदीश जी को विलायत से जब लौटे तो अधिक दिन नहीं हुए थे। एक दिन वह बाहर कहीं गए थे, तो घर लौटते हैं तो देखते हैं कि उनके बगीचे में एक बड़ा सा फूलों का गुलदस्ता रखा हुआ है, और साथ में एक चिट्ठी भी रखी थी। एक महान कवि उनके आविष्कार के लिए उन्हें बधाई देने आए थे। दोनों में गहरी मित्रता हो गई। एक वैज्ञानिक और एक महान कवि, दोनों अपने अपने क्षेत्रों में महारथी थे। विज्ञान और कविता का एक पवित्र गठबंधन। एक बार टैगोर जी ने कुछ दिनों के लिए बसु जी को बुलावा भेजा कि यहाँ मेरे यहाँ चले आओ। तो बसु जी ने उत्तर दिया कि मैं आने को तैयार हूँ, अगर आप एक कहानी रोज मुझे शाम को सुनाया करें। तो आप जो आज देखते हैं रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर जी की जो छोटी छोटी रचनाएं हैं, उनके पीछे इस वैज्ञानिक की प्रेरणा थी।
Please
और
conclude.
तो और जी बस 2 मिनट और। तो साथ के साथ जब इंग्लैंड उनका द्वारा से जाना हुआ 1900 ईस्वी में, तो उन्होंने रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर जी जो कि सिर्फ उस वक्त नेशनली ही फेमस थे, तो इंटरनेशनली उनकी और उनके बारे में लोग जाने, रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर जी के बारे में जाने, तो वो उनकी जो रचना है काबुली वाला, उसका अंग्रेजी अनुवाद अपने साथ ले गए। तो इस करुणामयी कहानी को जिसने पढ़ा होगा, तो विदेशों में इस कहानी को बहुत सराहा गया। और एक रूसी दार्शनिक ने तो ये तक कह दिया कि इस कहानी को पढ़ के मुझे अपने देश के महान लेखकों की याद आती है। बसु जी और रविंदर जी की मित्रता के बारे में जो कहा जाए वो कम है। रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर जी भी आप यहाँ पढ़ सकते हैं, स्क्रीन पे लिखा हुआ है, वो भी अपना आभार समय समय पर व्यक्त करते रहते थे। तो ये दोस्ती दोनों को एक दूसरे को आगे बढ़ाती गई, और एक दूसरे के सफलता हासिल करने में और एक दूसरे से इंस्पायर होते हुए ये दोनों महापुरुष आगे बढ़ते रहे।
Please conclude.
बसु जी ने
Conclude.
जीवित और निर्जीव जीवन में कैसी प्रतिक्रियाएं होती है इसके बारे में भी बहुत कुछ बताया। और मैं थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ना चाहूंगा। उनके कुछ महावाक्य है जो कि
Sarvesh, your time
मैं
is
शेयर
over.
करना चाहूंगा। जी जी जी, बस फिनिशिंग। सच्ची प्रयोगशाला मन मस्तिष्क है जहां भ्रम के पीछे हम सत्य के नियमों को उजागर करते हैं। हमें अपने कार्य के लिए दूसरों पर निर्भर नहीं रहना चाहिए, स्वयं अपना कार्य करना चाहिए, किंतु यह सब करने से पूर्व अहंकार और घमंड त्याग देना चाहिए। जीवन में हार खाना ही सब कुछ नहीं है, असली चीज तो कुछ और है, यह चीज है संघर्ष। और वो देशभक्त तो थे ही, और उन्होंने ये भी कहा था कि यदि मुझे 100 बार भी जन्म लेना पड़े तो मैं इस देश की गोद में ही जन्म लूंगा। और उन्होंने एक बसु विज्ञान मंदिर करके जो संस्थान का उद्घाटन करते वक्त ये कहा था, यह प्रयोगशाला नहीं, ये मंदिर है। और वो एक महान टीचर भी रहे थे। तो उन्होंने, जैसे इस फोटो में देख सकते हैं आप, उनके साथ मेघनाथ साहा जी और निचली पंक्ति में बैठे हुए सत्येंद्र नाथ बोस जी, तो उन्होंने अपने सक्सेसर भी तैयार करके दिए। तो अंत में मैं एक श्लोक जो उनके जीवन को चरितार्थ करता है वो पढ़ के मैं अपने टॉक को फिनिश करूंगा। अखंड मंडलाकारम व्यापतम येन चराचरम तत्पदाम दर्शितम येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। उस महान गुरु को मेरा प्रणाम है जिसने उस अवस्था का साक्षात करना मेरे लिए संभव किया जो पूरे ब्रह्मांड में व्याप्त है, सभी जीवित और मृत में। धन्यवाद बहुत बहुत।
Okay, thank you, Sarvesh. Due to time restriction, we cannot take the question. Second presenter is Nikhil Yadav.
हाँ यही है मेरा स्क्रीन शेयर हो रहा है। नहीं जूम पे शेयर नहीं हो रहा ना। पूरी स्क्रीन पर सर एक मिनट देख लेते, एक बार एग्जिट करो, जूम पे आओ। एक तो मुझे यहाँ दिखता नहीं है, इसको दबाओ, इसको हाँ दबाओ, स्क्रीन शेयर। हमारे व्यूअर्स को भी साफ दिखेगा ना, मसला ये है, हमारे व्यूअर्स को भी अच्छा दिखेगा।
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Chair, my dear sisters and brothers. Our topic is Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose, a scientist come Satyagrahi. I am presenting this with my co-author, Professor Madhav Govind sir. The objective of our paper is to explore the role of Acharya J.C. Bose as Satyagrahi, his contribution in fighting against the colonial superiority and suppression of Indian talent and culture, to identify the contribution made by Swami Vivekananda and Bhagavad and other nationalists in his life. The relevance is to find that apart from his scientific discoveries, how he had contributed directly and indirectly to the Indian independence. Those who live under the British rule understand the significance of Swaraj, the term which was coined by Dayanand Saraswati in 1876 and that got popularized later by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, came as a tonic to countless Indians. The scientific fraternity were also not left immune from it, since science could not be separated from Swaraj. Born just a year after what Vinayak Damodar Savarkar says the first war of independence, the 1857 revolt, Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose, many will recognize him as a brilliant scientist, whereas others will recall him as a masterful educator and institutional builder. However, if his role as a Satyagrahi went unacknowledged, it would be unjust and unfair to him. As we know, he was born in the present-day Bangladesh. He did his schooling from village, then he came to Calcutta. He did his schooling from St. Xavier College, then he completed his BA from St. Xavier College, and then at the age of 22, he went to the West. He went there to study medicine, but because he got ill, then he shifted to Christ College, Cambridge to study natural sciences. Before returning to India in 1885, he secured two important academic achievements. First was his BSc from London and a BA from Cambridge. During this period, he was guided by some of the best professors of that time. He also came in contact with Praful Chandra Ray at that point of time. He left for home in 1884 with a letter of recommendation for Lord Ripon, the Viceroy of India, from Professor Henry Fawcett. After returning to India, he joined Presidency College. It is important to know that he became the first Indian to occupy such position. However, he had to struggle for fair position, equal salary, and proper recognition for his scientific work at Presidency. He was stunned to learn that he was only paid a third of what a European will be paid. There were two types of services that were being given by the Britishers. First was the provisional services, and second was the imperial services. In imperial services, the Britishers and the Europeans, they were given positions, and in the imperial services, the Indians were given positions. And they were discriminated as, despite their experience and qualification, they were not given the same facilities. Apart from this, serving on this temporary position, he served for 3 years. He was given a permanent, and after 3 years, he was given a permanent position. However, according to the book, Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose, his life and speeches, his post was declared permanent on September 21, 1903. Some historians mark that the Bose fight for justice was the first instance of non-violent resistance in the Indian freedom struggle. During this period, he also married Abala Bose in 1887, and after Praful Chandra Ray came from Britain, he also helped him, since he was also discriminated. Despite all these obstacles, due to his interesting teaching style, some of his students, they got higher positions. Amongst them are Satyendranath Bose, Meghnad Saha, and others. Then in 1894, he converted a small room into a small room which was adjacent to a bathroom into a laboratory, where he continued his research work despite all the obstacles. When Bose decided to become a creative scientist in 1894, it was not just the desire to gain knowledge nor the desire to gain name and fame, but most importantly, the desire to reclaim Indian pride. In 1895, 2 years before Marconi's demonstration, Bose demonstrated wireless communication using radio waves. He was a he gave a private demonstration of wireless transmission of signals, first at Presidency College and then later at a town hall in Calcutta, event that was presided by the Lieutenant Governor of Bengal. Dramatically, the electromagnetic wave traveled a distance of at least 75 feet, penetrating at least 3 solid walls. The new era of wireless transmission of signals was truly born. Even though Marconi was acknowledged to be the inventor of radio transmission, Jagdish Chandra had to wait a century to be officially recognized as the pioneer in wireless transmission of signal. The Institute of IEEE has recently awarded a milestone plaque to Acharya Bose, placed at Presidency College today. Marconi's grandson also came to India. He visited Bose and he wrote that he was convinced that Jagdish Chandra Bose had achieved the feat of wireless transmission substantially before his grandfather. Acharya Bose went on scientific deputation to Europe to demonstrate his discovery in England, France, and Germany, winning universal applause. He was approached by several industrialists to patent this, but he refused. While writing to his friend Rabindranath Tagore, he said, if he surrendered to the temptation of money, his life's mission would have remained unfulfilled. Then he started working on similarities of responses in living and non-living systems. He has to face discrimination. Acharya Bose had to deal with ignorance, bias, and favoritism, resulting in fewer opportunities and resources. We already know that scientific invention and development take times and require a good deal of patience and perseverance on an individual level and several other administrative supports. Instead of lending support, Europeans discriminated him. After his return to Britain, I have already discussed. Now, Bose was most widely renowned plant biologist of early 20th century. But in 1920s, an anti-Bose movement in United States emerged. This movement was less concerned about scientific discussions and more on an envy for Bose due to his recognition and fame spread across the scientific community. Parallel to this, some argue that Bose was a victim of the prevailing racism of the time, led by Daniel Macduff, Gustav Persson, Richard, and George Peirce. The jealousy was to an extent that Richard, he called him fake. George, racist views towards Indians was a routine. As noted in 1917 issue of Scientific American, he stated, Indian brain was imitative and assimilative and sadly lacked inventive faculties. The contribution of Swami Vivekananda was present in the international conference that was held in Paris. Sister Nivedita, who met him in 1898, both of them also went to Champawat, where in the Himalayas, the Vivekananda Ashram is set up, and she also helped him in several research papers and other works. Even Mrs. Sara Oli Bull was a devotee of Swami Vivekananda. The Bose family was friendly with Sara Oli Bull. She went to Bose lab in Calcutta. Bose received financial support for US 4,000 to set up his botanical research from her. In 1901, one of the greatest manufacturers of wireless apparatus approached. Oli Bull made a request, a required amount of $80 in 1901 for submitting the patent application.
Time is over. Conclude, please.
Another important achievement of Bose was the Vigyan Mandir that he established. It was during his struggle in Europe that he first thought of building an institution in India, furnished after the Royal Institute of London, where Indian scholars would be free to pursue scientific studies without the influence of control of the government. Rabindranath Tagore and Bhagini Nivedita helped him in this. Apart from them, other nationalists like Gopal Krishna Gokhale and Mahatma Gandhi also helped him to contribute the money for this. In Bose's own words, he dedicated the institution to the nation and said that it is not merely a laboratory, but a temple. He directed the institute till the day he died on 23rd November 1937, just a week before his 80th birthday. He left no issues. Bose Institute was his only child, dearest to him. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikhil. So I can take one question only, if there is any.
So what is your original idea about Sir Jagdish Chandra Basuji? Since you have presented, what is your original idea about his contributions? Just in 1 or 2 lines you sum up.
First of all, as many students are here, we categorize person as that he was a physicist, he was a Swadeshi entrepreneur, first of all, he was a systematic bent of mind. And then he decided that I have to contribute for the country. Irrespective, as in the case of Swami Vivekanand, he was not in common terms with Swami Vivekanand, but because the idea was one, to work for the country. So Bhagini Nivedita could become a person who can take this idea for his contribution. So the deep-rooted love for the country was the main in-depth idea of Jagdish Chandra Bose. And he was a systematic bent of mind. Only because of this, he could contribute to different segments of professions.
Okay, Nikhil, thank you. Next presenter is Tripti Kumari.
इसको नीचे करना है, कॉलर माइक भी चाहिए और इसको नीचे करना है. Has it started? No. Okay, I can use the mic, but I just wanted that tab below to be removed because some of the contents will be hidden because of that.
Keep it on the top only. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, I think so. Very good. Am I audible? Yes. So, a very good afternoon to one and all present here. Good afternoon to the chair, distinguished delegates for the session, audience, and that's okay. I think I'll manage with this. Distinguished guests and dear students. I am Tripti from Gargi College, and today I will be presenting. And today I will be. Why aren't the slides going ahead?
स्लाइड के लिए वो बताइए टैब हटाना ना
टैब भी हटाना, स्लाइड्स भी हटानी है.
एक मिनट में टैब हटा देता हूँ हट गया कुछ भी पॉपअप रहता है ना उसके लिए वो नहीं दोबारा होता आपके पास
अभी
क्लिक
भी
करो
नहीं चलेगा.
निकाल के लगाओ दोबारा नहीं चलो साइड में देखना बंद तो नहीं है
तो चल रहा है ना स्लाइड में स्लो करना है क्या
यहाँ से आगे नहीं जा रही ना, यहाँ से नहीं.
एक बार स्क्रीन पे जाके दोबारा से जाओ Got it?
Yes, thank you. Please pardon me for that technical glitch. So I am Tripti, and today I will be talking about plant autographs, reflections of the work of Acharya J.C. Bose for a kinder and a gentler outlook towards trees and plants. And the theme under which I am presenting is contemporary relevance of the works of J.C. Bose. Now, let me walk you through the contents of my presentation. So I will start by giving a brief introduction. He doesn't need an introduction, but still, I would start with a brief introduction on Acharya J.C. Bose and the intellectual giant that he was. Thereafter, I will discuss in detail the experiments which he performed, which actually demonstrated and proved that plants could respond to stimulus and that plants were always communicating, only that we didn't notice them. Then I will read some excerpts from an essay that was written by Sir J.C. Bose, which was published in Science later on in 1929, and the essay was called Plant Autographs. And finally, while concluding, I would be talking about how is his work relevant today, and I will give an environmental perspective to it, and with that I will conclude. So Acharya J.C. Bose was an intellectual giant because he was a biophysicist whose remarkable work towards developing the world's first radio receiver had completely revolutionized wireless communication. And we have heard it often that Marconi took cues from here and moved on to develop the world's first radio communication. But inside this very immensely gifted biophysicist, there was a very gentle botanist and a plant physiologist who performed experiments and who demonstrated that just like us, plants can sing, they can grieve, and they respond to electromagnetic stimulus. He said, in short, that plants do communicate. And why I will call Acharya as an intellectual prowess is because he beautifully interconnected electromagnetic waves and signals. एक तरफ उन्होंने इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव्स और सिग्नल्स का यूज़ करके, रेडियो वेव्स का यूज़ करके ये बताया कि हम वायरलेस कम्युनिकेशन कर सकते हैं, और वहीं दूसरी तरफ उन्होंने बिल्कुल दूसरी छोर पर जाकर वही इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक वेव्स को यूज़ करके he proposed that plants can pulsate, they can signal, and they display consciousness when you treat or when you eject or apply electromagnetic wave stimulus to them. So let me now go to the path-breaking experiments that he did and the wonderful inferences that he drew from there, and what gave the first idea to Acharya J.C. Bose to pursue these experiments. So Acharya J.C. Bose wondered कि plant kingdom और animal kingdom दो हैं जिन दोनों में life है, and they both flow side by side, then how is it possible that there is nothing in common between plants and animals? Because an animal, अगर आप एक animal को shock दो या उसको आप hit करो, then it shows an abrupt movement. But when you hit a plant, there is no such movement. I mean, let us keep touch me not mimosa pudica out of sight, but otherwise you touch or you hit or you cut an ordinary plant, there is no movement, and animals show a very abrupt movement whenever they are hit or struck. So ये question उनके दिमाग में आया, and it really troubled him that nature created both these kingdoms. How is it possible that there is nothing in between them? There were few more questions that came to his head. First, that are plants really as inert and insensitive as they appear? Do plants ever feel? Do they grieve? Is plant a sentient being? Does a plant feel anything? Can it sense? Will plants respond to external stimulus? And do plants grow more quickly when they are exposed to nice music, gentle whispers, and poorly when they are exposed to harsh music and loud sounds? So he tried to understand plant behavior under all these environments, and the first experiments that he conducted was अपने बगान के ही एक leaf, एक carrot और एक turnip से उन्होंने ये first primary experiments किए. And in order to perform these experiments, he discovered or invented a very wonderful instrument called the magnetic crescograph. And why is crescograph very important? Because it can sense or it can produce magnification of 50 million times. A microscope can give you only 1,000 times, but this can give you a magnification of 50 million times. And also, it can measure growth or movement, very small growth or movement. A movement as small as 10 to the power minus 5 of an inch can be recorded on this magnetic crescograph. So he developed this instrument to study and record the growth of the plants, and this instrument proved beyond doubt that plants are indeed sensitive to environment. And then later on, he demonstrated his work before world-famous scientists in the University of Vienna. And let me now take you to the exact experiments that he performed before people. So what he did was that, first of all, he strapped a human being and a plant to a chair, and he gave a very, very feeble electric shock. Now, when the shock was very mild, the human being felt nothing, whereas the plant gave a shuddering twitch, which he recorded on his crescograph. And he inferred from this that जब ह्यूमन को पता भी नहीं चल रहा है, प्लांट उस छोटे से माइल्ड ट्विच पे भी रिस्पॉन्ड करता है. सो प्लांट्स आर नॉट ओनली सेंसिटिव, बट दे आर एबल टू रजिस्टर impressions which are far below the range of human perception. Then what he did was that he gave an electric shock of a very strong intensity, obviously not to the human being, but to the plant. And he saw that after producing a convulsion, there were some very erratic movements on the crescograph. The plant finally became quiet and dead. And he inferred from there that plants are indeed sensitive and they respond to stimulus. Then he was also looking into कि क्या plants में भी pulsatory tissues होते हैं, जैसे हमारे यहाँ blood हर कुछ circulate करता है, क्या plants के पास भी ऐसे कोई tissues हैं जो वो circulate करे. And he proved that when he dipped it into bromide, the plants could indeed that they died taking up that poison bromide. And this is very interesting, the last one, because George Bernard Shaw, who was a playwright, was in that audience when he was presenting. And जगदीश चंद्र बोस ने कैबेज लिया और उसको एक पॉट ऑफ बॉइलिंग वाटर में डाल दिया और उसके सिग्नल्स क्रेस्कोग्राफ पे रिकॉर्ड करने शुरू किए. एंड देयर वाज वायलेंट कन्वल्शंस, एंड दिस लेफ्ट जॉर्ज बर्नार्ड शॉ हॉरर स्ट्रिकन. ही वाज पेट्रिफाइड टू सी दैट एक प्लांट में भी इतना ज़्यादा स्टिमुलस को रिस्पॉन्ड करने की शक्ति हो सकती है. So later on, he also studied various other stresses like temperature, electricity, and this work was published in Responses in the Living and Non-Living in 1902. So from the excerpts from the essay, which is titled Plant Autograph. So I would just read some lines where he said,
Time is over. Conclude,
yes, I'll
please.
just conclude. How blind are we and how limited is our knowledge? The little we see is nothing as compared to the vast that we cannot. And all around us, the plants are communicating, they have voices. It is just that we don't notice those voices. This is his publication in Science, which I was talking about, Plant Autographs, authored by J.C. Bose in 1929. And finally, the last slide, where I would talk about the contemporary relevance of his work. आज हम जिस mercilessly plants को काट रहे हैं, his works give us a reflection that we have to be environmentally conscious, we have to be kind and benign to the plants around us, and we have to listen to their voices. Before cutting them, we have to understand that just as an animal is hurt, just as we are hurt, similarly, if you hit or strike a plant, it also responds. It is just that we are not able to see. So his work is a deep reflection for us to hear the silent voices and to read the invisible signature of the flora around us. Concluding, he demonstrated plants are sensitive to electromagnetic stimulus. He questioned human beings for wrongfully considering कि plants में कोई movement नहीं है. उन्होंने ये question किया और उन्होंने बोला ऐसा नहीं है. His work was definitely, it surprised the fraternity, and it guides us to build an environmentally conscious society that is benign, kind, and gentle to plants, because plants give us life. Jungle है, वन है, तो जीवन है. Thank you very much. This is the references that I consider, and I'm Tripti.
Thank you, Dr. Tripti. We can take 1-2 questions here.
So very nice presentation, Tripti.
Thank you, ma'am.
Only thing is, when you are mentioning this crescograph kind of resolution, you said that it can maximize the
50.
smallest vibration. So this is quoted in the science paper?
Ma'am,
How is it proved?
Ma'am, this is actually, I've taken from his own paper, Plant Autographs, that it's reported in this, there is a paper called Century Magazine, in which his paper is written. So I read that paper, and it is available in this book also. A book by Frantham Francis, published by Oxford, India. The Great Indian Mind में भी इनका काम है और वहाँ reported है ये.
Okay, very original. Thank you so much. Nice
Thank you, ma'am.
presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tripti. Final presentation of this session will be by Dr. Pratibha Kumari.
ये कैसे चलेगा?
1 second. Your PPT.
डेस्कटॉप पे होगा। दिस वन आई थिंक।
This one.
That's fine. Okay, good afternoon to all. I am Dr. Pratibha from Deshbandhu College. And today I will talk about Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose and his pioneering contribution in photosynthesis research. As we all know, it's not changing. It's not changing. It's not working. It's working. Okay, as we all know, this Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose, he is popularly known as Sir G.C. Bose, and he did a lot of work in the direction of photosynthesis research. And he is not just a physicist or biologist, he was also a wonderful fiction writer. And he pioneered the invention of radio and microwave optics also. He is also known as father of Bengali science fiction. And he believed that the true laboratory is the mind, where behind illusions are undiscovered the law of truth. So he believed on this and he did a lot of work in different directions, and especially in the field of plant, he did a lot of research work. If we talk about his life and education, the G.C. Bose, he was born on 30th November, means today is the birth anniversary of G.C. Bose, in 1858 in a small city in Bengal, which is now a part of Bangladesh. He started his schooling at Hare School, and then he went to St. Xavier School, and later on to study the medicines, he went to London University, but due to his health issues, then he moved to University of Cambridge to study the natural science. From there, he then returned back to India and he became a professor of physics at Presidency University at Calcutta. He did a lot of work in the photosynthesis research. As we all know what is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is just a process by which plants consume CO2, and in the presence of water and sunlight, they make the carbohydrate and they release oxygen. So this is a very known process which takes place in the plant. But he did a lot of work in this area, and he compiled all his work and he presented all his work in the photosynthesis in the form of a book, that is the Physiology of Photosynthesis. So in this book, all the research achievements of G.C. Bose are published. He did work mainly on the hydrilla plant. Now why hydrilla was chosen by G.C. Bose? Due to variation in their photosynthesis properties in summer and winter season. So there was a difference in the photosynthesis properties, so that's why he became interested in this plant. The another thing was that the plant was maintained under the normal condition in a vessel of water. So it was very easy to perform all the experiments, and the studies were easy. And there is no transpiration to modify the normal activity, so that's why studies becomes easy. And the absence of complicated stomata was also a helpful factor. So that's why he did a lot of work on the photosynthesis in the case of hydrilla plant. He did many experiments but he started this work mainly in 1920s. That time many instruments were not there to record different analysis, but he did not give up. He designed his own instrument to study the photosynthesis process, and he observed that the CO2 assimilation by green plant, this is an anabolic process. Okay, so he recorded it as an anabolic process, and he also observed that the photosynthesis process is actually related to the intensity of light. So it's directly related to intensity of light. The proportion of photosynthesis, it was directly related to the incident intensity of the light. As shown in the graph, okay, this graph clearly indicates that as the concentration of CO2 is increasing, the photosynthesis activity is increasing. Okay, so this observation was recorded by J.C. Bose, that it is related to concentration of CO2, but it should not be very high, then it becomes poisonous also. He also studied the assimilation of organic acid. Okay, as you can see in the graph, like when the CO2 concentration is increasing, photocatalytic activity is increasing, but if we take malic acid, then also it is going in the same way. So he also did the assimilation of organic acids as shown in the graph, and his main observation, which were in the area of photosynthesis, like he observed that the low light compensation is observed in summers. He also observed that the malate is the major product of the photosynthesis. He also studied that photosynthetic rate in summer type plants is 2.5 times higher than that of the winter type plants. So some of the major achievements of the G.C. Bose, and he also developed different instruments to study the photosynthesis process, and later on he designed different instruments for other research areas also. Like some of the instruments are like oscillating recorder he developed, and he also developed photosynthetic recorder to study the photosynthesis. He developed the crystallograph, which today also students are learning how to develop the crystallograph to study the growth of the plant. He also developed magnetic crystallograph, and many other instruments were developed. He also developed conductivity balance, okay, and even the radiometer was developed by the G.C. Bose. So he developed many instruments to study different areas. So in the last, I will conclude that the G.C. Bose work on the photosynthesis with the hydrilla is a kind of landmark in the area of photosynthesis research, and his observation actually led to different it led to further exploration of the research in the area of photosynthesis or the plant chemistry or the plant science, and it is always motivating that we should not give up whenever we feel some kind of limitations are there. Like in 1920s, instruments were not there, but he designed his own instrument and he did a wonderful work in the area of photosynthesis. So the message is that we should not give up, we should move ahead, we can think for the solution. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Pratibha. And we can take some questions here.
Hello. Good presentation. You mentioned in first slide, I think, that you said that J.C. Bose has also contributed in the archaeology. Can you give some example of his contribution in the archaeology?
Actually, I have not studied that in detail because my focus was photosynthesis, but it was written somewhere that he did some contribution in that area also.
Okay, so your whole presentation is based on photosynthesis. So do you know who discovered photosynthesis?
Discovered?
Yes. Who originally coined that photosynthesis? Means who discovered this phenomena? Do you have some idea?
Sorry, I don't remember this time.
Okay, it is Jan Ingens Hose. Since I just googled it, since your presentation is on photosynthesis, I feel that you should have known this. Okay, thank you.
One thing needs correction, that is Presidency University. It is nowadays it is called Presidency University. Earlier it was called Presidency College.
Good presentation, ma'am. What did you find most useful out of it? Out of this research?
Out of the research, like the one message that I think we can get from all his studies or all his work, we should focus on the solutions, or we should not we should be always curious to know what is happening around. So we should understand what is there and what is the reason behind what is happening around, and we should focus on the the solutions, that what we can contribute to do better in research, not on the limitation but on the solutions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pratibha. So with this, we come to the end of this first technical session. So before we go for the lunch session, so I will request the oral presenter of the second session to give your PPT to the technical team, so that we can start and finish within time, and there will not be any in between time of loss.
Okay, so on behalf of the organizing committee of this conference, prestigious conference, I would like to thank Professor Manish Kashyap ji for chairing this session, and we would like to hand over a memento to him as a token of appreciation. So, sir, kindly come on the dais, please. Okay, so there are a few announcements I would like to make, that this poster competition will be held in the lounge area, and poster stands are put up. So you have to place your poster in the time of, during lunch time only, just eat your lunch fast, so that you will have some sufficient time to paste it on the poster stands. And another announcement is this, Anuji was mentioning about the slogan and poem competition. So the bowl is there, so you can contact the person over there, student, and you can take a chit, put your slogan or poems in that bowl. So we will be announcing the results of this competition during the cultural program, and it will be open till 5 p.m. today. So whoever is interested, kindly make use of this. Thank you very much, and we will break for the lunch, and we'll be assembling back at after 45 minutes. So we'll be back in the main auditorium within 45 minutes, okay? So it is 2:30.
Hello. Check. One. Check. आखिर भसड़ हो क्यों रही है? Check. One. किसको? ये डाल रखा है ना? Check. One. Hello. 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 One, two, one, one, one. सर आप लंच करो. अरे कोई नहीं. Check. 1 2 3 4 1. Hello. Check. 1 2 3 4.
you